If you want to beat Shakur Stevenson, don't expect to outbox him. That's the blunt take from Regis Prograis, and honestly, he might be onto something. Prograis, a two-time world champion at light welterweight, didn't mince words when he said that the only real way to have a chance against Shakur is to just fight him like it's a street. And in this context, that doesn't mean sloppy or reckless. It means raw, relentless, and unpredictable. Regis pointed to an old-school example to back up his theory. Ricardo Mayorga's shocking wins over Vernon. Mayorga wasn't the more technical fighter, not by a long shot, but he overwhelmed Forrest with unorthodox aggression, throwing wild shots from strange angles and refusing to play the technical chess match that Forrest thrived on. That chaos worked twice. Now, in 2024, we might see history trying to repeat itself in a new form. William Zepeda, an undefeated power-punching Mexican fighter with a 33-0 record and 27 knockouts, is gearing up for a shot at Stevenson's WBC lightweight title. That fight is set for July 12th at the iconic Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York. And if Zepeda wants even a sliver of hope against a tactician like Shakur, Prograis believes he's got to throw the rulebook out the window. Who on? This planet can outbox Shakur right now? I don't think anybody, Prograis said during an interview with YSM Sports Media. He's just too young, too sharp. If you want to beat a guy like that, you need to bring an ugly style. Just make it messy, rough, and unpredictable. And let's be real, Prograis isn't wrong. Shakur Stevenson, with his polished amateur background and Olympic pedigree, has seen virtually every style there is. That's the beauty and the frustration of trying to fight him. He's not just fast or slick, he's studied, he's disciplined, and above all, he's frustratingly hard to hit clean. His defensive skills aren't just top tier, they're elite. He doesn't stand and trade unless he has no choice, and he's made a career out of neutralizing his opponent's offense, which is exactly why Zepeda's usual volume-based strategy might not cut it this time. He's known for throwing a high number of punches, overwhelming guys with constant pressure and forward movement, but against someone like Shakur, who moves effortlessly around the ring and employs a hit-and-run style, that aggression might just miss them. Prograis didn't just pull Mayorga's name out of a hat. He used that example to illustrate how the right kind of chaos can disrupt a technician's rhythm. Mayorga's unpredictability, combined with his sheer power, caught Forrest off guard. It didn't matter that Forrest had more finesse or better fundamentals. In a fight where nothing goes according to plan, sometimes being the wilder dog in the brawl is what makes the difference. That's the route Prograis sees for Zepeda. Don't try to get into a boxing match with Stevenson. It's a trap. He's going to be moving all night, Prograis said. If Zepeda thinks Shakur is going to stand and fight, he's in for a rude awakening. Shakur's not going to sit there and trade shots. He's going to stay on his bike, use the ring, and avoid as many exchanges as he can. And it's true, Shakur's approach to fighting has always leaned defensive. While he talks a big game about coming to scrap, the reality in the ring usually looks a lot more like tactical movement and pot shots from the outside. He's built a reputation as one of the most difficult fighters to hit cleanly, and even though his offense isn't particularly flashy or devastating, his control of distance and timing is almost surgical. He's seen all the textbook stuff in the amateurs, Prograis explained, but what he hasn't seen is something completely wild, something unpredictable. You bring that into the ring, and suddenly Shakur's not sure what's coming next. And if you've got power behind that chaos, that's a whole different problem. If Zepeda can force Stevenson into a dirty fight, one filled with awkward exchanges, body bumps, short uppercuts in the clinch, and punches from unexpected angles, then maybe, just maybe, he can pull off an upset. That kind of gritty strategy has worked before. Marcos Maidana gave Floyd Mayweather serious trouble in their first fight using a similar approach. Mayweather had to adjust mid-fight, start moving more, and barely edged out a win. And unlike Floyd, who could switch gears offensively and counter aggressively, Shakur doesn't have that same offensive dynamism. He doesn't hit hard enough to make his opponents second-guess their pressure. You've got to give him something he's never seen, Prograis had. Just start letting your hands go. Be relentless. Be ugly. Like Maidana was with Floyd. Like Mayorga was with Forrest. That's the blueprint. Let's not sugarcoat it. Zepeda has his work cut out. Stevenson is undefeated at 23-0 with 11 knockouts, and he's been touted as a future pound-for-pound great for years. He's slick, calculated, and highly disciplined. But sometimes the greatest weakness of a defensive genius is an opponent who doesn't play by the rules, who doesn't dance to the same rhythm. Prograis didn't say Zepeda will win. He said if there's a path to victory, it's going to look messy. It's going to mean taking risks, and it's going to involve walking through fire. Shakur's not going to like it when shots start flying from all directions, Prograis said. He's used to clean technique. Someone throwing bombs from wild angles? That's not in the playbook he's used to. There's a kind of beauty in the ugly fight. It's chaotic, yes, but it's also honest. And in a sport where styles make fights, this could be one of those moments where unpredictability becomes a weapon. If Zepeda can channel just a little bit of Mayorga or Maidana, if he can make Shakur uncomfortable early and often, then the fight on July 12th could end up being a whole lot more interesting than people expect. One thing's certain, if Zepeda comes in with a textbook plan, he's toast. But if he turns the ring into a battlefield, that's when things might get really fun. That's why Regis Prograis isn't buying the idea that Shakur Stevenson will suddenly flip the script and trade punches in the middle of. That's not who he is. Shakur's style is rooted in patience, timing, and keeping opponents at bay with sharp footwork and precision. He might talk about standing and fighting, but Prograis sees it as pure misdirection, just mental warfare to uncertainty in Zepeda's mind. Once the bell rings, Prograis fully expects Shakur to do what he always does: move, jab, counter, and make opponents look foolish for even trying to catch him clean. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Shakur's defensive mastery has carried him to an undefeated record for a reason, but it also makes him predictable in a way that a brawler like Zepeda can try to exploit. If Zepeda can take a few risks and absorb the early frustration of missing shots, he might be able to drag Stevenson into a more chaotic fight. That's what Prograis means when he talks about an ugly style, not sloppy, but raw, relentless, and fearless, something that makes Shakur uncomfortable, forcing him to make mistakes he usually avoids. There's a difference between technique and disruption. Shakur thrives on structure. He reads patterns, measures distance, and executes flawlessly. But chaos is a language he doesn't speak fluently. Fighters like Ricardo Mayorga and Marcos Maidana succeeded by forcing that chaos. They didn't beat their opponents with superior skill. They overwhelmed them with pressure and unpredictability. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. That's the template Zepeda has to consider if he wants a real shot at pulling off the upset. Still, there's no question Zepeda's got a mountain. Shakur isn't just another slick boxer. He's a seasoned technician who's been in the game at the highest level since his teens. Olympic pedigree, championship experience, and a mind that sees the fight 2 steps ahead. But even the sharpest minds can get rattled when the rhythm is broken. That's why Prograis keeps bringing up the street fight analogy. Because if you try to outthink Shakur, you're